Hi, my name is Andrew Chang, and I am recording for the class management 16, section B00 at 11 a.m. This is for the final project, another ethical dilemma. So our instructions are to interview our parents about an ethical dilemma from their past, walk them through applying the 8-step model to their dilemma, determine if they would have done anything different after applying the model, and after the interview, record your analysis and conclusions. So I interviewed my dad, who works at Amazon as a hardware engineer. And his role is to create prototypes and innovate new devices for Amazon's hardware products. One ethical dilemma he faced at work was a few years ago, their company implemented a new rule where all teams have to report their prototypes, whether they're missing, to their managers and to the company itself. The reason why the company implemented this rule is so they can keep track of their prototypes and also make sure that these prototypes do not fall into the hands of other companies or other competing businesses. However, this is really inconvenient for my dad's team as he is a hardware developer. He has to maintain a lot of physical prototypes that can be easily lost, such as microchips or small circuits. So as a result, a lot of people on my dad's team, and even my dad himself, actually lie to the company about their check-ins whenever they ask for a record of their prototypes or devices. And for example, so the company has to basically ping my dad and his whole entire team every 3 months about a record of their devices. So they go through each prototype and they say, "Oh, do you have do you still have it with you?" And they can either say yes, they have it, or no, they lost the device. However, if they report that they lost the device, they lose all access to the device from their network. So, for example, if you say you lost the prototype, you would not be able to use it to test any products. However, for my dad's team, they're really incentivized to say yes, as um this will allow like their employees, the workers, to have access to the prototype and use it for further testing in the future. And it is a really big hassle to regain those privileges to a device that you've lost in the past, as you would have to set up meetings with IT, and it would be a whole like logistic like nightmare to reset that thing. And not only that, but their managers also know about it. So their managers who actually are responsible for keeping track of the prototypes also know that many of their employees lie to them and just say that, hey, we already have the device, even though they actually did not make an effort to look for it, because it is so inconvenient to look for all these devices. One big reason is that you could accumulate many prototype devices within your possession over the years. Let's say you work on around 60 prototype devices every year, and then you get rid of like a few. So that's 60 plus small devices each year that you have to keep track of. So yeah, it is a big incentive for my dad to lie that to the company that every 3 months that they have access to these prototypes, like these a few hundred prototypes, whereas um um or as he tells the truth and like says, "Oh, I don't know where these are," or has to spend the time looking for each one of these devices, which is really difficult when he is in a very busy work environment. So I went through the 8-step model with him, and this is what we got. So for this first step, yeah, just retelling the backstory. I think there's a lot of gray area between. He said there's a lot of gray area between this new rule because different teams implemented in different ways. But at least what he says is most people on his team just lie and say, "Oh yeah, I have this device," because they think it's not worth looking for the device and it's not worth giving up the device because they might need it to test in the future. So like two core values in conflict for number two, or integrity and success or efficiency. So for the integrity part, it is really hard just like lying straight up, and also the punishment of consequence of maybe even getting caught and maybe getting like reprimanded by his managers is definitely also something that is taken into consideration. Um, yeah, my father doesn't really feel comfortable lying and does not know it's the best solution, but because everyone in the company does it, and also even his managers like do it and even say it's okay, he feels compelled to do this. Um, and then the other value in conflict is efficiency and success. So the reason why you do not have integrity is because you want to prioritize having more efficiency in your work environment and also success. So some stakeholders for the situation. So step three is the company itself, Amazon. So they do not want their company secrets to be exposed, and that is the reason why they implement this 3-month check for prototypes, and this is implemented to every team. So not just hardware, but also software. And for my another stakeholder is my father. It's just more convenient if he lies. He personally believes that his team should have an exception to this rule because it's really inconvenient versus like a software team where they can just store their software prototypes in a folder on like the internet or like on their network. But he has to physically keep track of all these prototypes devices. And then his coworkers also, because everyone on his team does it, it makes it more easy for my dad to also participate in it. And also, since they're on a team, if my dad reports devices missing, it could affect other people's work as well. And then the manager is also another stakeholder. Um, their role is to take action on this rule and also implement it. But they also understand that their employees, it is not very convenient for their employees. The consequences, what my dad told me for step 4 are they're not really that bad. It is pretty easy to get away with it, and the managers do not really check. And then if they ask for it, my dad can just actually check and look for the prototype itself. Yeah. So obligations, step 5. So Amazon expects their workers to deliver and perform well, which is where one of the conflicting values of efficiency comes into play because they're expected to work and perform well. It compels workers to take shortcuts to also ensure that products get delivered on time versus, especially in a busy season, like I don't think my dad would want to spend like a whole day checking all his prototypes versus they could spend a whole day working productively. And also, lying about it would also help his teammates because what if his teammates also need these prototypes that he has? And if he tells the truth and loses access to them, it could also make the team run slower. So for number 6, personal integrity. I think my dad said personal integrity would not do this. At least for him, he is a very honest person and he feels guilty every 3 months and uneasy every time they check for him because he knows he needs to lie about it. Yeah. So but morally, he says it is not too bad since everyone else does it in the company and on his team. For number 7, he says to yeah for number 7 about potential actions, he says you can either keep lying or his other action after talking with him, he said he wanted to present to management and make the company aware of their special case for this team and that they actually are lying as an attempt to align their values or at least get the company to understand their concerns, concerns and circumstance. And then for number 8, for my father's guts, he's ultimately not really comfortable every time they go to check the baseline. And he's sometimes even busy and does not have time to check. So he wants to bring the situation to management to address the problem. He knows this rule cannot be applied to every team, and it is unrealistic for his team to have to check for the prototypes every 3 months. Yeah, so overall, we went through the 8 steps, and I think he realized that after talking with him that he should bring this problem up to management as it does make him feel really uneasy, and this is a issue that can be addressed. And if not, at least he can gain the trust of his managers and be upfront to the company about it, and also help them understand his situation. For the 3 simple models at work, for utilitarianism model, I think the worker in my dad's situation that they would ultimately lie about it because the overall impact is so much greater than the consequence. And honestly, they could probably get away with it since their managers are on their side. For number 2, duties, obligations, and principles, I think as a worker and for the company values at Amazon, they would ultimately lie because they would want to increase efficiency and success in the team. For number 3, integrity and virtue of the person, they would obviously not cheat and lie about it, and they would spend the painstakingly task of looking through their devices or just be honest and report them missing if they did not want to spend the time to find it. So this is my analysis of my dad's interview for a situation at Amazon as a hardware engineer. Thank you for listening.